я приглашаю следующего спикера, Кортни Манро, вице-президент компании IDC, который расскажет о том, как искусственный интеллект способствует цифровой трансформации Enterprise-сегмента. Кортни, вам слово.
Okay. My name is Kортни Manro. I'm the research vice president for worldwide telecommunications research at IDC. And it's a pleasure to be here this year at the 2021 iteration of the Intercom conference. And my role today is to talk about the worldwide communications platform as a service trends. I have been covering this segment for several years, and I have to say it's one of the most exciting segments in the IT industry today, and indeed one of the fastest growing segments today. So, what is communications platform as a service? Well, it's part of the whole emerging cloud communication segment. And the way I look at it, it facilitates the hosting and management of APIs based on cloud platforms. So CPaaS providers facilitate the creation of customized and innovative communications APIs, which are based on hosted and pre-coded routines hosted in the cloud. So what's driving this tremendous growth? Well, let's step back a bit and look at recent development. I would say, and I'm sure you would agree with me, over the last 2 years, primarily as a result of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen this accelerated migration to the cloud. And companies are moving cloud applications to become more dynamic in terms of implementing digital transformation. So we've seen companies move towards implementing public cloud, private clouds, or hybrid and multi-cloud infrastructure. And what's the goal? The goal here is to implement digital transformation. And IDC is projecting growth in this migration and transformation over the next 5 years in spending of $1.2 trillion. And one key pillar of digital transformation is customer experience. So this whole drive and this whole move to cloud, a big part of that is implementing better and more modern customer experience. So as part of that, companies are looking to modernize their CRM and to automate functions as well, and to communicate not just with end users, but also with their partners and suppliers. And to do that, you need what I would term sort of a real customized and innovative engagement that can only be provided by CPaaS. And as a result of that, we've seen this tremendous uptake and demand for CPaaS platforms, and IDC is projecting growth and spending over the next 5 years of about 30% per year. So over the last, I would say 18 to 20 months, with the impact of COVID-19, IDC has been doing monthly surveys, worldwide surveys of enterprises, to get a grasp on where they are in terms of looking at digital transformation and pivoting to the future for new IT strategies. And as you can see from this graph, when we ask companies, what are some of your top priorities? Customer satisfaction is right at the top. So as I said earlier, customer experience is an integral part of this move to digital transformation. And this next slide, we ask companies about spending on customer experience. So it's not just a priority, it's also a spending priority. And as you can see across the globe in various regions, spending on customer experience is going to be very, very paramount and top of mind for companies over the next few years. So looking at the next slide, so I talked about how we're seeing this increased growth and spending on CPaaS. So what does that mean? We have sized the market in 2020 at around just under $6 billion. And we expect to see tremendous growth over the next 5 years, as I mentioned earlier, to over $21 billion. And it's going to vary by vertical cases. It's going to vary by the type of APIs that companies implement, but across the board we expect to see tremendous growth. The industry is changing. We're seeing a lot of new companies jump into this market. We've seen tremendous consolidation by several major players. There's a lot of venture capital funding coming into the segment, but there's also dozens, if not hundreds, of CPaaS providers around the globe. So in looking at a provider, I think you want to consider not just the big large consolidated players, but companies who understand your specific market, companies who can provide agile and responsive customer service in your specific market and according to your specific needs. So I think that's going to be very important as we move along in this market. It's not just about who are the new entrants, who are the biggest. It's about who meets your specific needs. The next key trend I should mention is that CPaaS has always been an integration of what I think is CRM and CPaaS, and providing that bridge to call centers, providing that bridge to CRM and other applications. And I believe there's a tremendous TAM that's emerging that will allow CPaaS to be that bridge to implementing more intelligent integration with call center platforms and more intelligent integration with unified communication platforms. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity here for companies who are leveraging CPaaS platform to integrate with legacy applications as well as various platforms that will provide a more engaging customer experience. So let me talk a bit about some of the key developments I'm seeing in the CPaaS segment. I think that some of us say we're evolving, the industry is evolving, whether it's CPaaS 2.0, whether it's CPaaS 3.0. There's no doubt that we're seeing a progression. I think several years ago we saw this emergent with companies offering the networking capability, allowing you to leverage numbers wherever you are in the world, allowing you to integrate SIP trunking and providing that interconnection to mobile operators around the world. And then I think we originally started with voice, we originally started with SMS APIs, but we're seeing an expansion of the capabilities for platforms. We've seen tremendous growth, for example, in video in 2020, and that is stabilized, and I think that is going to continue to grow in 2021 and beyond. And chatbots and chat APIs have always also been a very important aspect of this platform, and I think that is going to continue to expand as well, along with email capabilities. And then what we're seeing is so companies have to have that basic network where you can provide reliable numbers, where you can provide integration with SIP trunking if required. And then you want to have a broad portfolio of APIs. But most importantly, I think we're going to that next level where you want to get smarter. You want to leverage more intelligence for this platform. And as part of that, we are seeing demand for AI capabilities, integrating various intelligent workflows, for example, to the call centers, integrating sentiment analysis for end users to figure out which channels are most important or preferred by them. Implementing trusted calling, such as two-factor authentication, and so, for example, Google verified calling, and we're seeing various vertical use case solutions emerging. So, for example, use case uh, focused on call centers, etc. Around what I call a more intelligent platform that will allow you to integrate with various AI engines to provide the differentiated and innovative customer engagement experience. So, what are some of those, sort of intelligent customer engagement experiences that I just talked about? Well, I think what we're seeing, for example, is a lot of, focus on making the call center, more friendly to the customer, providing that delightful experience. So we're seeing, for example, intelligent call routing, right, to a specific agent or a preferred agent who has expertise in a particular issue that a customer is interested in. We're seeing AI, being used to, for example, facilitate interactions between a chatbot and a live agent, right? And that's important. I would say the majority of companies right now do not provide, for example, a migration from a chatbot to a live customer agent, and you could lose a customer if you don't provide that that easy facilitation, and that takes AI. You also can leverage AI to understand the customer behavior, so you can upsell, so you can provide the right solution to a customer issue. The other key trend is business automation, CRM automation, and integrating with the various legacy applications that would be in use at many enterprises, right? And that is critical. So I think you're seeing companies integrate with it could be a UC implement a legacy UC platform or UC platform of their choice. It could be one of the legacy or traditional call center platforms that they need to integrate with. So I think that is going to be also increasingly important. And then I talked about personalization and also customization to be more innovative and differentiated. And I think I talked about some of the examples in terms of more of a intelligent IVR or call center routing, analytics, sort of interpreting the emotions of your caller, sentiment analysis, and then moving that call to a specific call center agent. And then I think SIP is also important. SIP is important for a lot of companies who still have legacy platforms and would like a path to digital infrastructure. And so I think SIP-enabled voice is also very important. And then perhaps what I see is the most important trend, which is omni-channel communications. By omni-channel communications, I mean providing a choice of interacting with voice, if that's preferred, interacting with SMS, if that's preferred, but also interacting with over-the-top messaging platforms, right? And the most popular around the globe, the most popular in most regions today is WhatsApp. So I think you have to be able to provide that capability to your end users. And it might not be WhatsApp depending on the region. It could be Facebook Messenger, it could be Line, it could be Viber, it could be Keiko Talk. The key here is to provide, a diverse array of channels that will allow your customers to engage in a channel that makes them more comfortable, or their preferred channel. So that's increasingly important as well. And there's some other stuff we could talk about, low code, no code building, which allows companies to expand the pool of users within the enterprises to go beyond developers who are very expert in coding and may not have experience in coding, providing drag and drop capabilities to allow non-coders, enterprise and finance, HR, etc., to create smart applications. So those are also very important. So, just talking a little bit about where we are today with CPaaS. Our survey shows that more than 50% of companies are leveraging CPaaS right now. And as you can see, there's tremendous opportunities ahead for growing this market. More than 30% said, we are looking at CPaaS and we're planning to implement it over the next, 2 years or so. And it has, when you look at it from a vertical perspective, I think there's a lot of opportunity. And on the right part of this chart, you'll see some examples from the various, vertical use cases. But it's not just these verticals. It's healthcare, it's education, with video. So I believe across the board in various verticals, there's tremendous opportunities to provide for CPaaS integration. And the next chart also reiterates that term. So over 30% are currently using CPaaS, 20+% or testing it and looking to implement it. And then as you can see, another 10%, they haven't started it yet, but they're considering it. So I think as you move forward, I think this is a thought to keep in mind in terms of your go-to-market capabilities. So, I'd like to summarize here by saying, we've seen tremendous growth in the industry, but, I think companies will be well advised to, you don't have to provide everything to everyone immediately. My advice is to provide, rather than providing everything, you provide what you are best at doing, right? If you can do voice, if you can do SMS best, focus on that. If you can do SMS and video best, focus on that. Focus on specific regions. You don't have to provide service to 80 countries. You don't have to have a sales personnel in 80 countries. You have to be able to specifically focus on your key markets and your key capabilities. And you have to be able to show that you have expertise in vertical use cases. You have to, if you're in the healthcare segment, you want to be able to provide your clients with what are issues necessary for healthcare. In the financial segment, you want to be able to say, well, look, these are the compliance requirements, and this is what you need to understand. And depending on the country that you're operating in, you also need to understand the regulations in those countries as well. So I think compliance and expertise in onboarding customers and ramping them up is very, very important. And then your interconnection capabilities with mobile operators around the world is very important. So whether you have direct capabilities, you have to show that you can provide that underlying network integration and network experience, provide reliable delivery of messaging capabilities. You have to show that you're capable and scalable in an agile fashion to manage the growth in traffic. And then last but not least, implementing intelligent AI, whether it's based on Google, whether it's based on Amazon or IBM AI engines, it doesn't matter. The key here is to provide an option to provide personalization and innovation to help your clients differentiate. So with that, I'll close and I'll say I hope you have a great conference, and I want to thank the folks at Vox Implant for inviting me to participate this year with you, and I hope I've brought some interesting points and topics for you this year. Thank you.